How do I find a new job? How can I make a career change? And the biggest question of all, can I really find a career that I love? Hey, my name is Jen Smith, and I believe career success doesn't have to be at the expense of living a radiantly happy and healthy lifestyle. As a former HR leader and recruiter turned career coach, I get what companies are looking for when hiring top talent. What that means for you is an unmatched combination of insider knowledge and the best kept secrets about making heart-based career changes and navigating the ups and downs of job searching in today's world of work. Whether you're a recent graduate navigating the job market for the first time or a seasoned professional ready for a career change, this show is for you. So grab your coffee or your kombucha, pull up a seat, and get ready to be challenged and inspired to move beyond your self-doubt and take the right next steps towards landing a career you love. Because you deserve a long, radiantly happy and healthy career. This is the Flourish Careers Podcast. Welcome back to the Flourish Careers Podcast. I'm your host, Jen Smith, and I'm thrilled to have you here for this compelling season dedicated to the inspiring stories featured in the book, Brave Women at Work, Lessons in Letting Go. Each week, we'll spotlight an extraordinary woman as she shares her path of courage, resilience, and growth. These stories will move you, challenge you, and reaffirm the beauty of evolving through letting go. Today, I am delighted to have Dr. Shawnté Elbert with us. Shawnté is a dynamic leader, public health advocate, and entrepreneur with over 18 years of experience in higher ed and health and wellness leadership. As the founder and CEO of Elbert Innovation Solutions, she partners with organizations to implement strategies in leadership development, health equity, and holistic well-being. Dr. Elbert's expertise spans strategic planning, change management, mentoring, and coaching, and her innovative approach integrates the 9 dimensions of wellness into actionable solutions that foster individual and organizational growth. She has served in roles including Associate Vice President for Health and Wellness and is a sought-after speaker, consultant, and trainer. As a first-generation college graduate, Dr. Elbert is deeply committed to empowering underserved communities and inspiring others to unlock their full potential. Her work is guided by a passion for creating inclusive spaces and leveraging data-driven solutions to address systemic inequities. In addition, Dr. Elbert teaches graduate courses, chairs dissertation committees, and co-owns Sister Wells, a fabulous wellness collective dedicated to helping individuals achieve balance across all areas of life. Shawnté, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jen. Oh my goodness, hearing about myself in the bio is always one of those either cringe moments or girl, you are good.
Girl, you are good. That's what's going through my head. And before we hit record, listeners, I was telling Shawnté how beautiful her Sister Wells website is, and everyone needs to go check it out. It is just stunning and inviting and all of the things. So yeah, we are excited to dive in today. So, Shawnté, your chapter is all about choosing faith over fear, and it paints this vivid picture of the struggle between faith and fear. And so, for those who haven't read the book, can you give us an overview of your story?
Absolutely. And the whole faith over fear, or inhaling faith, exhaling fear, was in one of those pivotal moments of my life where I was trying to figure out where I wanted to go next. And I knew it would not probably be in North Carolina, which is where I'm from, which meant I would leave my family and my husband would leave his family, and we would probably have to take a step out to move outside of North Carolina. And my coworker who was pregnant had signed up for this women's symposium, and she couldn't go, so I went for her. And it was this amazing Fortune 500 woman who was the keynote, and somebody asked her, how does she do it? How do you consistently be the only one? Talked over, talked under, talked around. And, after hearing her story, and it felt like it was resonating with me, even though I was about 6 levels lower on the org chart.
Yeah.
And she said, I inhale faith and I exhale fear.
Oh.
So you have to be mindful of what you hold on to and what you let go of.
Yes.
And I have held on to that every phase of my life and career. And that struggle was really started to be more pronounced, and I started to see those redundancies happening in my career. And so sadly, sometimes the hardest lessons follow us. And so that struggle of faith over fear became a mantra of mine of what are you going to hold on to and what do you let go? And the fear of the unknown, leaving everything I knew, leaving my identical twin sister, leaving my family, my husband's family. It was separation anxiety. And so when I think about my story, it has been really learning how to walk by faith and to trust that the fear could be perceived as excitement,
Right.
and to lean into the fear of the unknown, and that's for me been the mantra of what I mean by inhale faith, exhale fear.
Wow. We need to shout out to that keynote speaker all those
I
years
know,
ago.
I know, powerful woman. I wish I could find out who she was, but she was one of the few in Charlotte at some of the organizations there. But it was a powerful experience that really projected me to where I'm at today.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful that it resonated with you all these years later and you're able to share it now with others. Yeah. I mean, relocating to a whole different city or state and leaving family, a twin sister even, I mean, that's a really big deal. And then kind of starting over. So starting the career path over as well, right? That was part of the story from what I know of your chapter. Is that right?
Absolutely. I was a health educator and that was my dream. And I started seeing myself do the job at a higher level. But sadly, I was overlooked for the promotion when my director retired. I was doing the work. Everybody was like, well, definitely Shawnté is going to get it. And I didn't. I didn't even get an interview. And so that powerful moment was, what are you going to do? Will you sit here, weep, and kind of, sulk? Or will you do something about it? And so I had to do something about it. And so I started applying for jobs. And those were the first times I got to have goals outside of what I knew. I literally was like, I want to be a director by 40 and I want to make at least, again, 60,000. And that's not a bad salary, but that's all I knew, again, first gen. And it's because I took that step, I started to see that this career could make six figures. I could be over multiple areas. And so I'm grateful for that moment because my eyes were open a whole lot more than what I was exposed to.
Yeah, that expansion, like seeing all those possibilities and then courageous action, like actually doing something about it. Because so many times we get stuck in that fear and it overtakes you and it's hard to take that action. So speaking of that, when fear feels all-consuming, what are some signs that told you had to change? So like when it showed up, physically, mentally, like talk to us about that so others can probably relate.
So I'll talk about the first part, what I felt, and then my amazing circle of people who hold me accountable. For me, that consuming fear is exactly what you talked about, the headache. The hard to process thinking and make decisions, and to feel like you're not. I'm stuck. It is that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and kind of going through different iterations of each one of those. And for me, I'm a natural crier. I cry when I'm happy. I cry when I'm sad. But when it becomes repetitive, and when the fear is consuming, the thing I know I need to do is hard for me to do, which is as a person of faith, is to pray. Because I feel like my prayers won't connect because I'm not in a good place. And that's completely the opposite. And so for me, all of those things are happening and all the physical, pieces that go with it, the headaches, the body ache, can't sleep, overeating, not eating. I check all the boxes. I'm not just a one size fits all. But externally, my accountability partner, so my husband, who we've been together for this year's 19 years. And so he met me in my first year of grad school, and so he knows me. He's seen me grow into who I am, and so he's quick to be like, and he's learned sometimes he knows that he needs to be him, and sometimes he'll call in reinforcement. So that's my twin and my circle, my mentor. But, the hardest lessons when my kids had to be that reminder. When they would come in the room and hand me the tissue because I'm in the bed, I don't feel like getting out the bed. And they're wiping my face. Mommy, what's wrong? What can I do? Not wanting them to see me in that space. That's that reminder. I got stuff to do, or excuse my language, I got shit to do. I got to be here for them.
Yeah.
And I have to show up for them. They don't get to get this side of me because other people make me feel so crappy.
Right.
And then it doesn't help that my twin sister is a therapist. And so
lucky you.
I often ask her, "Are you therapizing me?" And she's like, "No, I can't. Ethically, I can't." And so it's good to have accountability partners. But
It is.
my mom and my aunties, and when my granny was alive, I've had strong, powerful Black women who poured into me. But as I got into my career, I've also got mentors and accountability partners who don't look like me, who can talk about that intersection of what it's like to show up in these spaces as myself and help me navigate it as a Black woman. And so it's been important to have those people who say, "Girl, I see you."
Yeah.
Who put my name in spaces I have yet to walk into.
Oh, yeah, I just got goosebumps when you said that. Now, one thing that stood out to me, you said, I want to just kind of pull this back because I've heard this from other folks where leaning into faith, but thinking that that connection wasn't going to be there because you were in a deep spot. So how did you reframe that? Like, how did you get out of that? Because you're right. Like, that's when we need faith the most. So tell me about that a little bit.
It is that, did I do something wrong? Did I anger God? Did I anger the ancestors? It's like, what did I do? I'm here. And then I was like, I'm here again. And to get out of that spot again, a couple things happened. One, I'm a peruser on Instagram and Facebook. I'm one of those just scrollers. And so I've always been mindful of, I'll get the message no matter how it comes.
Ooh, I love that.
I will scroll and hear the message. And I'll just sit there and I just weep. And as my granny used to say, tears are prayers too. And so oftentimes it's in that scrolling, I get what I need. And that's enough to kind of wake me up. Like, God is saying, I'm here. I'm getting that nudge. And then sadly, sometimes it's the circle, the same accountability circles of my baby cousin, Reverend Teddy Reeves. I remember talking to him this last time when I was leaving my AVP job to go be chief of safety officer, and I was like, I'm about to take a huge, significant pay cut. I feel like I'm shrinking. And he said, "But look at the timeline, Shawnté." And I was like, "What are you talking about?" He was like, "I've known you. I've stayed with you and your husband doing different iterations." He said, "How many times has God failed you?" And he got quiet. He said, "I'm going to give you a chance to think about it." And I was like, "None." He's like, "Do you think it's about to happen now? The timeline speaks for you."
Yeah.
And so for me, it's that now that I have that moment, and I when the baby cousins have to deal to the big cousins, for me, I keep going back to that June 2023 conversation while I'm sitting in my car weeping. When he said, "Do you think God is about to fail you now?
Right.
Do you think this one moment is about to be the end all be all, or is it the beginning?" And so for me, if now I keep going back there of, look at the timeline, Shawnté, look at the timeline. And, now I have things in place to remind me of that. I now know that this is part of the process, not the only part of the process. This is where I'm going next. And so for me, it's been that kind of that joke of, girl, look at the timeline.
Yes. Oh, I love that. And what a fabulous family you have, from cousins to grandmothers to sisters to husbands and mom. Like, you have all the people in your family.
We love hard on each other. We've been through a lot. And so being able to have people who see and want the best in you, even when you can't see it, has been a big part of, to walk by this faith thing. And it's not fully understand it sometimes, but to just trust in it.
It's a really big deal. And I love that you're using social media for goodness, for getting those divine messages. I call them divine winks. And you said it was a nudge, and you're using that for good. And I totally agree with you that the messages come when they are meant to come. And so good for you for knowing that and using that for goodness. Now, you had just mentioned that pivotal moment in the car, gripping the steering wheel. So for listeners that haven't read your story, can you tell us about that? Because it's really profound.
Yes. And so I literally worked my Rudy Patootie Fresh and Fruity to get to an associate vice president role at a Big Ten institution. And I thought that, hey, I'm here. And so I literally had to sit and make a new goal sheet. Like, now what's next? Okay, I'm going to be a VP. I'm going to be a president or chancellor. Like, the goalpost kept moving, and I accomplished it all before 40. And so, again, it was 40. I want to be a director. I was a director by 32. I was an AVP by 38. And so I started seeing that I get to move the goalposts. And so when I got to that role, I was so excited. Me and my husband bought our first house here, and it became one of the most toxic situations for me. And there were signs during the interview process, but because I interviewed during COVID, I dismissed it. Mm-hmm. And because my boss at that time looked just like me, I also dismissed it and gave grace where I probably shouldn't have.
Oh, wow.
And so I experienced workplace trauma. When you read about mobbing, when you read about psychologically unsafe spaces, I had experienced it at a smaller scale, but not to that level. Because you also assume once you get to that level, you won't have to experience it because you're like 2 levels from the top of the org chart.
Right.
And I literally came back from a conference. I had poured into my mentor, sitting and I'm crying. And a friend of my mentors went back and told my boss about our conversation. And so I walked into what I thought was my regular 101. And by the end, it was, is this the best place for you? Are you happy? And I started hearing things that I said to my mentor. And, her and the other lady were best friends for like 25 plus years.
Oh, no.
And so while that piece, all those details aren't in there, just know that conversation led to me being asked to start looking for another position. Just because I was vulnerable in that moment. And I went through a lot of regrets of being vulnerable, talking to who had been my mentor for the past 5 years, and feeling stupid, feeling very insecure and not trusting. And so that was in January of 23. And by May, I was asked to resign. We don't get along was what I was told. And I felt this small to be able to work to that level. I felt devastated, and I gave myself 2 months. They approved it. So I'm searching for 2 months, and I had interviews in higher ed. I was a finalist for a VP position at another Big 10, and then they posted my job while the last candidate was on campus. I mean, I felt that interview. I know I did. You know how you get the goosebumps?
You just know, yes.
And so I had already been talking to the search firm. I thought that everything was in the bag. I was like, we about to move. We started buying boxes. And then they posted the job the last day the candidate was there. The last candidate was 3 of us. And then I heard nothing. I was ghosted.
Oh, my gosh.
All this fight to stay in higher ed became like I felt like I was being blackballed. I was no longer getting interviews after that. I had one more, then they ghosted me. And so that interview at the health department was it for me. And I felt, when I say I felt this big, I felt this big. And then it came with a significant paycheck. And I was like, how are we going to do this? And at that time, I'm making more. My husband's driving trucks, but I'm like, I don't want you to drive so much because then you're not here. Right. And so now he's in his mind, now I got to get back on the road. I got to make sure our family's okay. And then I take the job. I already knew what I was walking into. And so you have to work a full year before you're fully vested. And so I'm in month 11. I walk in. I'm at Starbucks. My admin calls me and says, you have a meeting on your calendar. I said, okay, no, I don't. I'm getting my refresher. So I just pulled out of the Starbucks parking lot, and I go around the corner, and I see on there is HR, my supervisor. And I had problems similar to at my previous institution, but this time I didn't remain quiet. I spoke up for myself. I didn't try to hide like I did at my previous institution. Because I was like, now I'm in a new setting, try something different. Take up for yourself, Shawnté. And I walked into the room. They were sitting on one side, and they was like, yeah, we're going to give you a choice. And I'm literally like, but I knew it. It was my admin that called me, and I was like, I'm back here again. Really? And so those 2 years, I felt like I was at my lowest. And so I literally said, you know what, it's fine. Because now you're making up things that I have receipts that didn't happen. And it was just hard because my boss was a person of color. I had just talked to HR before, and they was like, we're so blessed to have you. I'm surprised you still hear what the words that came out of their mouth. And then, I took a week off because I was starting to have anxiety attacks, started new anxiety meds. And then I probably would have been at that place that week. But if I hadn't took that week off, it probably would have happened the week before. But it happened as soon as I came back. And so I literally said, I'm good. And I typed up an email to my staff. I packed up what I could, typed up my resignation letter. lesson learned to not write the nice resignation letter, tell the truth. And as I'm walking out, my staff is running down the hallway crying.
Oh, gosh.
And yeah, that was
hard. That is so hard.
Dr. E, what we're going to do? But in that year, my faith in was tested.
Yes.
Now, same baby cousin, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I feel like God is asking me to move in a space that I haven't had to. Like, I've always supported, mentored, and, when necessary, they asked me to pray, I pray, but I was doing it so much more. It came like almost like a bullet in my job description.
Right.
And I feel like I'm being called to do more ministry. And I literally said it to him on the phone, and he's like, well, you probably are. And so when I got done and I called him, he was like, so are you ready now?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, okay. I don't know what you I just missed them. I started applying for jobs. I applied for 100 jobs in that time period of from June to August. No unemployment. That took 90 days for me to pull my retirement out, and God covered it.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Because 2 weeks later, my husband pulled out the truck. And so we're sitting here like, what are we going to do?
What's happening?
My circle stood up for us, that faith over fear.
Yeah.
And I said I wasn't going to go back to in the bed, not getting up. My kids coming, wiping my tears from the previous situation. And so I was up and moving. That's when Elbert Innovative Solutions came along. And that's when I started writing more for Dr. E Speaks, my blog. And that's when I started moving differently. And that was the pivotal moment of what it means to inhale faith. We got this. For those 3 months, we were fine.
Yes.
We didn't back anything. And for me, the inhaling faith was either you're gonna do it. It's an active decision. It's a choice to do this thing, or will you dwell in the fear of the unknown?
Right.
If what you see ahead of you, yes, it's there, but will you learn how to navigate what you see versus what you know? And it's the timeline. What do you know? Your timeline is consistent. You've never lacked. You are going to be okay. The boys won't experience what you experience.
That's right. Aw, yeah, that's true. It is. I'm so grateful for you sharing this because it happens. And it's so true that when you don't know what's in front of you, you can lean on the back. You can lean on that timeline and know that you've always made it through no matter what.
Every single time.
And something else that's coming up as you're talking is the word surrender. So, right? You can exhale, my friend. Here you go. Exhale. It sounds like that's what you did. You said, look, I've always been held. I've always been taken care of. And now I'm just going to surrender, and you're going to guide me through this unknown. And I'm going to take these tiny next steps and see, even though I can't see the future, but see what happens and see where it guides me. And now you have a business, multiple businesses, and all of the things are happening. And so that word surrender just really, really comes through loud and clear.
I have to agree. Surrendering and being open to asking for help.
Yes, right.
Surrendering to trust that and say, you are a planner, but this is not your plan.
Yes.
As I often remind myself, not my will, but yours.
Right.
And if I'm in ministry to do this work to help others, the benefit is not just for me, it's for those I will come in contact with. And reminding myself of what it means to surrender. And the first time I made an active decision to surrender my life to God. And they actually ask you when you're in the altar to put your hands up. It's a physical release of surrender.
Yeah.
And I think, for a lot of us who've experienced trauma, raised by single parents, who understand what it means to be low socioeconomic status, poor, food stamps, and all the things that you can think of, or have a disability seen and unseen. When you've had things around you dictate how life shows up for you, it's a hard place to surrender to something that is unseen.
Yeah.
And so even for people who are agnostic or atheists, how do you believe in something bigger than yourself? How do you believe in the benefit of helping those who are sadly sometimes worse off than even we are? And so I've even looked at it from so many different perspectives of, if I do this, how can I help the body, the whole, our entire community? And so I'm looking at, if I do this, how do I help others? And that's where that, again, leaning into that faith that if I can do this one part, maybe this one part can help so many others, and that ripple effect starts to happen.
Oh, yes. Incredibly powerful to be of service, even when you're at a rock bottom, but maybe not feeling it just then, but using that to pull yourself out of it and using this faith. And I totally agree with you. To me, and I help people make like pretty drastic career changes. I'm all about like following your heart with your career. That is not for the faint of heart. So but when you listen and you have faith in something bigger, whatever that is for you, it makes a huge difference. And then when you have it in your heart, like that pull to serve, knowing that your experiences, even in this rock bottom, are going to serve others, which is exactly what we're doing today, because this message is serving so many people as it gets out into the world. So yeah, there's some really powerful wisdom in that. And it only comes from people that have lived it, my friend, and you have lived it. So
look, as they say, TBD, to be determined. So much before. I used to ask, why me? Why can't I have it easy? I've had this conversation with a lot of good girlfriends and some of those that I coach. And what I've learned is that it's because I've experienced that those I've had a chance to coach and mentor want me to be that person for them, because they know I'm not pulling from just reading a book. Not just saying that's a bad thing, but sometimes the lived experience is the best lesson. And I think that's a big piece to how to navigate what it means to acknowledge the fear and not to act like it's not there. One of my mentees asked me, she's like, "Doctor, you got a keynote coming up. Like, do you still get nervous?" Absolutely.
Yes.
I still have the bubble guts. I still have to pace. I still have to get the wiggles out, but I give myself less than 5 minutes, as I call it, settling, and to settle and make the stage mine.
Ooh,
and I've mastered that. I got my thing that I do. And my goal is, if I can get them into my space, it's either a facial expression, making them laugh, or that deep breath, like, "Ooh, she just stepped on toes." And I sometimes do all three within that first 5 minutes, because now you're in my world. Let's go. And so that's what I need people to figure out, like what it means to take up the space that you've been given permission to be in, whether willingly or unwillingly. Sometimes these spaces we, have been placed in, as people say, "Well, I didn't want you here. I'm here. So what I'm going to do with it?" And that's what I mean by that phase of how dare I listen and not use the gift, even if it's for a predetermined amount of time. Let me make sure I do the best I can while I'm here. And that's what leaning into that faith has been for me. While I'm here, I will do right by the space and the people who've been able to be a part of this journey with me. And so how dare I not use it? Because I had a keynote at a university, and I had to leave to go back to the airport. And so she said, one of the young ladies said, "I'm going to walk you to the airport, to the elevator, and I'll help you out." And I said, "Okay." And so we walked into the elevator, and then she said, "I prayed for this."
Oh.
And I stopped in my tracks, and she said, "Everything I have been praying on, somehow, some way you mentioned it today in your keynote."
Oh.
And I don't even remember saying it, but she said, "Thank you for the confirmation, and thank you for being willing to just be here, because I got exactly what I needed." And that's what I mean by trusting and having faith that this is bigger than you, that sometimes you're the lucky person to be the vessel. And that's it.
Yes. And Shawnté, I cannot help but pull this full circle from the very first question I asked you. You told me about a keynote that changed your life.
Yes.
And now here we are, you being that keynote that is changing lives. I mean, how amazing is that? I mean, that is such a beautiful, full circle, full body chills moment over here, my friend. Oh my goodness. I love that you shared that story so much, because that really is what it's all about. So, so good. Now, let me just, as we kind of wrap things up and come to a close, I'm all about practical and tactical. And so this is hard. Like faith and fear are hard things to talk about and live through. And so if you were to put kind of like your coaching hat on here, what kind of tips or practical tools have helped you the the most when you're thinking about inhaling faith and exhaling fear?
So the first assignment, we actually have one that we use for Sister Wills, and I use also for EIS, is that timeline assignment.
Oh, okay.
I love the timeline because oftentimes, and it can be challenging for some, and that's where the coaching has to sit back and they may need therapy. They don't remember everything. Right. So what's the timeline? What can you remember? Because you need to have reminders of what you actually have overcome. You actually are already resilient in so many areas. It's just using that same skill set now somewhere else. And so for me, is that timeline, is that what makes me naturally feel good. I am a natural foodie. So when I want something, I do go get it. If I want an ice cream sandwich, I'm going to have it. And I'm a music person. I love all kinds of music. And so I love TikTok. And I finally got my 13 to make me do a TikTok dance. And we had, it didn't go viral, but we had a lot of family and friends like it. So it was great. I bought the little gaming system next, and so we'll play it as a family. Like it's doing the things that just honestly make me feel good.
Yeah,
I still get to do those things in that moment that remind me that my faith is trusting that in this moment all is well.
Yeah,
I can focus on tomorrow, but today, now, all is well.
Yes. So a couple things that I can't help but comment on here. So first is the timeline. Okay, so this is a big deal because even what I talk with folks about even celebrating your wins along the way too. So like the timeline of what you've been through to remind yourself of all of the resilience and challenges, but also the wins because we forget so quickly because we're always focused on the future. So pausing.
The next promotion, the next house, it's always the next. But you forgot about.
Yes, it's a really big deal. So listeners, that is a fabulous tool to just at least start with your timeline. I love that. And then the other thing you're talking about here is daily delights. Like declare a daily delight. Like do something fun for yourself, right? Every day.
You deserve it.
Yes. And then the last thing is words have power. And I think in the story or in your chapter, you talk about affirmations, right? So
yes,
that's a pretty big deal too.
Yes, and so I wrote a blog on your words have power, and it's actually titled "What Are You Saying to Yourself?"
Oh my gosh!
I literally, as I was prepared to talk with you, was writing my blog, and the title is "Your Words Have Power." Or, no, it's "What Are You Saying to Yourself?" And I talk about your words having power, and not only what are you saying to yourself, but what are you letting others say to you?
Ooh, that's big.
So for those who are listening, go back on my Dr. E. Seek blog. It was posted on 3/4/25.
Oh my gosh, we need it.
And so that is one of the things that I would say. What can you keep saying to yourself? So there's so many apps out there.
Yeah,
I'm still old school. I love a good sticky note. Me and my husband did for a full year. We wrote notes to each other. I still have that stat. And so I can go back and pull some of those notes that we did while we were staying in Washington State. And so do all the things, just eat all the above.
Yes.
Eat all the above and keep adding to that list and making sure you acknowledge the fear. As my twin sister, the therapist said, feel everything, play the whole keyboard. And so don't ignore the feeling, acknowledge it and have the tools or develop the tools with assistance on how to navigate that fear. Where did it come from? Because, my 6-year-old has no fear right now.
Oh.
So somewhere between 6 and adulthood, we developed a fear and something caused it. Acknowledge it and do the work to navigate it.
Yes. And I'm going to add on to that, breathe, inhale and exhale. The whole chapter. Inhale and exhale. Oh my goodness, Shawnté, your story is so inspiring. You had just mentioned your blog, so we're going to make sure that we put that in the show notes. Where else can people find your work?
So mostly I'm on LinkedIn right now. The website is done for EIS. We're just doing some final tweaks to it.
Beautiful.
Sister Wells is already up. When we were actually working on some of our worksheets that we do want to promote. So the timeline is probably going to be one of the ones that's up there and some others. But I'm excited to go between Sister Wells and Elbert Innovative Solutions, and then my LinkedIn is probably where I'm at the most. And then for fun, you can find me on Facebook and Instagram. I'm trying to convince my 13-year-old, my 6-year-old's down, but my 13-year-old to do some more TikTok dances. I still got it, as I like to remind them. I'm still young at heart. I'm still happy.
Yes.
I'm an 80s baby, so all the music that people are now sampling is my music. So I got it.
The OG. Yeah, I love that. Oh my God. Well, we need to see the TikTok videos for sure. So we'll make sure we have all your contact information in the show notes. My goodness, Shawnté, your story is such a powerful testament of letting go of fear, having faith in what's to come. So thank you so much for your courage to follow your heart and share your story.
Thank you so much, Jen, for the opportunity.
Listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope the stories in this series serve as a reminder that careers in life is rarely easy or linear. It's the courage to let go and embrace the unknown that shapes our path. Every story has a potential to inspire and connect us in the most unexpected and meaningful ways. I am certain that Shawnté's story inspired you, and I know you'll love this entire book. So don't miss the chance to own these incredible stories. Grab your copy of Lessons in Letting Go on Amazon and help us celebrate all of these brave women at work. And don't miss next week's episode, where you'll hear from another fabulous author sharing her story of letting go. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'll talk to you next week.